This video is sponsored by SquareSpace. Do you want better heart rate accuracy from your Apple Watch Ultra, Series 8, Series 7, or any Apple Watch out there? Or do you just not like wearing your Apple Watch on your wrist? This video might be the video for you. What is up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave from Chase the Summit, and in today's video, we're going to talk about a very inexpensive hack that involves this band and how this band in particular can solve a few problems for your Apple Watch Ultra, your Series 8, your Series 7, or just about any other Apple Watch out there. It can give you better heart rate performance from the optical sensor on the back of the watch. It can provide better comfort, and it can solve some very niche problems you might have for certain activities. Before I get into all the details about this band and how heart rate sensors actually work, I've got to talk about the sponsor of this video, and that is SquareSpace. If you're unaware of what SquareSpace is, they make websites, and not only do they make websites, they make making websites incredibly easy. I have personally been a SquareSpace customer for years. I've got my own website over there at chasethesummit.com. If you know how to click and drag and all of the basics, you can make an incredible website from one of their pre-designed templates. They also have e-commerce support if you want to have your own merch store or sell your own service or accessories. And you can also host a full blog with a commenting system and everything like that at SquareSpace. If you've been considering starting your own website, because everyone needs a website these days, go check out the link in the description down below and use discount code CHASETHESUMMIT, all one word, at checkout for 10% off your order. Back to the band at hand here. That rhymed. We're not going to talk about the band yet. Let's talk about why you might be getting less than stellar accuracy from your Apple Watch and its heart rate sensor. The first major reason is going to be because wrists are bony, and unfortunately it's pretty ironic, but the wrist is actually a really bad spot for an optical heart rate sensor because of all the bones in there and the lack of meat. There's not a whole lot of meat in here to take a sample from compared to other parts of your body. Even though the wrist is not a great location for the optical heart rate sensor, the great news is that the Apple Watch Ultra, the Series 8, and the Series 7 all have really good optical heart rate sensors, and they make do by being on your wrist. But there are some other variables that play a role in getting worse performance on your Apple Watch when it's on your wrist. The first reason would be if your watch is too big for your wrist. For example, if you have small wrists like me, my wrists are about 165 millimeters in circumference, and you buy something like the Apple Watch Ultra, you'll notice that the watch is almost as big as my wrist. And that can lead to light leaking in around the perimeter of the watch, and that can affect your heart rate performance. On top of that, these bigger and heavier watches tend to jiggle around a little bit when you're riding a bike down a bumpy hill or when you're running very vigorously. That can lead to all kinds of issues in accuracy on these watches because they're shaking around, and that'll mess up their measurements as well. Another reason why you can get bad heart rate performance is for certain activities like weightlifting, where there's a lot of wrist flexing, or mountain biking when there's a lot of vibration. That can all play a role in poor heart rate performance. And another very common reason why people get poor heart rate performance is by wearing the watch too loose, because that again will allow light to leak in and for the watch to jiggle around, causing issues in performance. And when you're putting your band on, you want to make sure that the watch is very tight but not uncomfortable, and it should be tight enough where you shouldn't be able to fit a finger under it all the way through. Other than those main variables I just talked about, there's a bunch of other variables that play a role in heart rate performance, and that could be things like having a tattoo on your wrist that's directly underneath the sensor of the watch. There's a whole bunch of other physiological variables about your body that can affect the heart rate performance as well, like the color of your skin, the hair color on your arm, how dense the hair is on your arm, and even your body fat percentage. And that's a long-winded roundabout way of getting us to the point of this video, because I found this very interesting. I went over to Amazon and I bought this strap for under $20. This band is designed to be worn up on your bicep instead of being worn on your wrist. And the interesting thing about your bicep is that there's a whole bunch more meat and skin and veins and arteries up here to take a reading of your heart rate as compared to something like your wrist. So let's first take a look at the band and how it works, and then I'll show you some of the test data and results I've gotten from using this band compared to other test devices. So the band I'm going to show you in this video is called the Tefika band, but you don't have to actually get this one. There's a whole bunch of similar bands on Amazon, and I'll link them in the description down below. I bought this one because it was inexpensive and it had the features I was looking for, and it had these cool kind of laser cut holes in it for ventilation, and we'll talk about the comfort of this in a little bit. So the way this band works is pretty clever. If I go ahead and remove the band on my Apple Watch Ultra by flipping it over, putting my thumb into this little groove here and popping the trail band off that I've been using for a while now, I can go ahead and put on my bicep band very easily. And as you can see, the bicep band I have actually has the same connectors that the trail band has. And the cool thing about that is that means this band is universal. So I can go ahead and clip this onto my Apple Watch Ultra, just like that. And there we go. I've got the bicep band on the Apple Watch Ultra, but because this band has that universal Apple Watch system attached to it, I can attach this to my Series 7 just as easily by popping the band off the Series 7 and putting the bicep band on here, and it works just as well. So this band I bought actually comes in two different sizes. So if you have a 45mm Apple Watch Series 7 or Series 8 or the Apple Watch Ultra, you can get this band, or you can get the smaller version if you're into the smaller Apple Watches. Now that I've got the Apple Watch Ultra actually on this bicep band, I can go ahead and use the Velcro here, just like an optical heart rate sensor like the Polar Verity Sense or Scosche Rhythm armbands, and I can loosen it up a little bit, kind of shimmy it up my arm here, and there we go. I've got the Apple Watch Ultra up on my arm. It's very secure. It's definitely not going to shake around, and the beauty of having it up here is that when I'm doing anything, I could be weightlifting, I could be riding a bike where there's a lot of vibration, and it's all going to be dampened because it's not down on my wrist, it's up on my bicep, which is a much more stable location for a heart rate reading. I want to talk about some of the pros and cons about wearing the Apple Watch on your bicep, because even though there's some pros, there are some cons as well. So let's start with the pros. First off, you do get better heart rate performance. As you can see from my graph here, I've tested the Apple Watch Ultra as compared to the Garmin HRM Pro, which is an ECG chest strap and really accurate, so I use this as a baseline of comparison. And in my testing, the Apple Watch Ultra, when worn on the bicep, is producing nearly identical data as compared to my ECG sensors, which is really good. The really interesting thing is it seems like when it's worn on the bicep, it's closer to your heart, so there's less of a delay. And I've been wearing it on the bicep for a couple of weeks now, and just about every run I've done with the Apple Watch Ultra up on my arm, it looks really good. Keep in mind, this is just a sample of one. This is just my test data and not a whole bunch of samples out there, but the data does suggest that wearing it up on my bicep is producing much better accuracy, even though it's pretty accurate before. Another pro to wearing it up on your arm like this is that it gets out of the way for specific activities. And some activities that come to mind would be something like jiu-jitsu or combat sports or karate, things like that, or possibly even dancing in ballet, or even, team sports like soccer or football or things like that, where having a watch on would be in the way or potentially a hazard if you're being tackled or something like that. I could also see wearing it up on your arm like this beneficial for rock climbing, ice climbing, any kind of outdoor activity where wearing a watch could again become a hazard. And another pro to wearing the watch up here on my bicep as compared to my wrist is for people who generally just don't like wearing watches. There's a huge population of people out there who just don't like wearing watches, but they do want to track their runs and rides and things like that. And for them, this might be a good option because now they might be wearing something like the iPhone 14 up on their bicep in one of those silly sleeves, and these things just jiggle around. They're very uncomfortable. It's not great. Wearing an Apple Watch on your bicep is far more light, it's less intrusive, it's far more comfortable, and you can still make phone calls and do all the things your phone can do just with a smaller device. Who doesn't want that? Now that we've talked about why it's so great to wear your Apple Watch on your bicep like this, let's talk about some of the cons, because it's not all sunshine and roses. The first major issue that I ran into when wearing my Apple Watch like this is going to be interacting with the watch. Obviously, it's not on my wrist. I can't simply go down and tap on it. It's up on my bicep, and it's kind of a hassle to use because I can barely see the display unless I kind of angle my arm up and look at the display like this. Then I can use it. And in yesterday's run, I ran while wearing a long sleeve shirt over my undershirt because it was pretty cold out, and I had my Apple Watch under the shirt, and it was a real hassle to start and stop the activity. And the final con for wearing your Apple Watch on your bicep would be if you just don't like wearing armbands. Obviously, if you've tried wearing your phone on your arm, or you tried wearing an optical heart rate sensor and you just hate that sensation and feeling and can't get used to it, then you're not gonna be happy with your Apple Watch up here either. That goes without saying. But for me, I'm really enjoying this armband, and that's why I'm making this video. I was surprised when I got this thing in the mail how pleasant this was to wear up on my arm, and especially for particular activities like climbing in the gym or even outdoor climbing, I'm going to find this really useful. And it's really interesting that these exist for Apple Watches, but I have not found one yet for a Garmin watch or other quick release style watches like Coros or Suunto or anything like that. I'm sure they're out there. I just haven't found one that's like really convenient, like this Apple Watch version with the built-in clips that go right into the Apple Watch. That's really cool. If you have spotted armbands for Garmin's and other devices, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And also, if you're planning on picking up one of these armbands or you're already using one, I'd also appreciate it if you went down in the comments and let me know how it's working out for you. What do you like about it? Are you getting better accuracy from it? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's really it. This was kind of a short and sweet video, not over the top, not overly technical, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel down below. And finally, if you're planning on picking up an armband like this, or even the Apple Watch Ultra, or the Series 7 or Series 8, or any watch or sensor that I showed off in this video, check out the links in the description down below because they do help support my channel and they cost nothing extra to you. And with that, I think we've done it. This one was short. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.